Of their activities, and as well as to all the guests and participants online and physical who have made it here today. My name is Babis Katsimalis. We are from the Lisbon Council, and I'm quite happy, proud, and honored to call on the stage and give the floor to our dear coordinators from the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance, who will provide us with an introduction to the project. Thus, this is what I would like to do right now. If a representative from the Italian Ministry would like to join, that would be fantastic. Before giving you the microphone, I have to state that our dear coordinators, the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance, have been coordinating the project, have been leading our activities, and has been a great group of individuals, experts, and very kind and patient people who have actually supported this project in order to reach to today's results. So right away, I'm giving you the floor, stream microphone.
Thank you, Babis. Good morning, everyone from my side. I'm Leonardo Rubini. I'm here to represent the Directorate of Information Systems and Innovation of the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance. That is the coordinator of GLACIATION Project. And it's a great pleasure for us to welcome you to the final event of GLACIATION. Our ministry has a long-standing tradition of participation in European innovation initiatives over the years with several projects, and now with GLACIATION. We have contributed, we are confident that we have contributed to the digital transformation of the public sector, while strengthening Italy's role within the European innovation system. We took the occasion to be part of this consortium because we believe that ministries like ours must not only modernize their own processes, but also take responsibility for driving forward projects that shape the future of Europe's digital landscape. Coordinating such an ambitious consortium has been a source of pride and demonstration that ministry's commitment to fostering collaboration between public sector, private industries, and academia. At the ministry, we manage an extraordinary amount of sensitive data, such as taxation, public spending, pensions, investments, and the financial relations between citizens, state, and businesses. But these data are not just numbers; they represent trust, rights, and responsibilities. For this reason, we feel a strong duty to promote responsible governance and meaningful use of data. GLACIATION faces some of today's most pressing challenges: how to manage and share data in a way that is secure, sustainable, and trustworthy. This data, the project has brought together leading universities, research centers, SMEs, and policy experts across 8 countries, showing the strength of collaboration and the value of combining different perspectives. Through GLACIATION, we have developed innovative frameworks for data governance that allow different actors to collaborate without compromise privacy and security. We have explored green and sustainable approaches to data management, ensuring that digital transformation also respects environmental goals. And we have demonstrated how cross-border collaboration can create scalable models that other administrations can adopt. But the results are not theoretical. They can be applied in real context. Ministries modernizing their digital services, municipalities improving their interaction with citizens, university accessing secure data for research, and SMEs developing new data-driven business models. In each case, Glaciation provides not just tools, but also confidence that innovation can go hand in hand with responsibility. I would like to highlight the fact that Glaciation is not an isolated initiative. It's fully aligned with the broader European data strategy, which seeks to create common European data spaces in sectors like health, finance, and public administration that will drive innovation and competitiveness while ensuring our digital sovereignty. By coordinating the project, the MEF has contributed to building not just national solution, but a piece of a shared European infrastructure for the future. On behalf of the ministry, I would like to warmly thank the European Commission for its support, with a special reference to the project officer, Mr. Daniele Bagliuca, whose guidance and support has been instrumental in ensuring the success of our project. And let me take the opportunity to underline the great collegial work of our consortium, which has demonstrated professionalism during all project implementation. And a special thanks also to the whole MEF administration for its continuous support. Together, we have proven how ambitious vision can be transformed into concrete results that benefit European citizens, businesses, and administration. As Glaciation comes to an end, our hope, my hope and our hope is that its legacy will extend well beyond the life of the project, helping to inspire future initiatives, strengthen common European data spaces, and pave the way for a more interoperable and resilient digital Europe. Finally, let me say that innovation is not only about technology. Innovation is also about people working together across diverse fields, from research to technical expertise. And these are the principles that must guide Europe's digital transformation, and surely they are the principles that will continue to guide the Ministry of Economy and Finance in the years to come. Thank you, and I wish you a fruitful and inspiring event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. I have a last microphone actually, so that's okay. Let's see here. And a great thank you again to the whole team, Leonardo Cherubini for the presentation and the intro, Alessia Coletta from the MEF team as well as Alessio Cellini, who are here, and all the MEF team has pointed out. So after this introduction, we will go according to the agenda to a keynote speech that will be given by Serios Konstantinou regarding the EU vision for sustainable and secure data infrastructure. Serios is the head of SGK Legal and Office in Greece. He is a leading Greek lawyer specializing in data protection, intellectual property, and telecommunications law. He will try to give us an introduction to actually, he's currently serving as also data protection officer for major political parties in Greece and for the previous governing party. His work sits on the intersection of politics, governance, citizen, and digital rights, and has been quite active the last decade also as an activist with the NOIB, the European Center for Digital Rights, an NGO based in Vienna, pioneering strategic litigation under the GDPR and e-privacy directive, and he has contributed to landmark cases actually in fines against large technology companies. So we have to keep him as a friend that have actually failed to protect personal data, strengthening privacy rights across Europe. So he's quite the proper individual representative to provide us with with a presentation, with an intro to the privacy rights across Europe and how these rights are taking place right now. He has also been recognized as one of the 20 best lawyers under 40 in Greece. And I will give him right now the floor screen and microphone in order to provide us with some presentation and his opinion on the overall glaciation final event today. I hope that you can see him. I will also try to spotlight for the online participants. Dear Stelios, good morning. Thank you for joining.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Give us a second, though, because I see that it is a bit difficult for the speakers to properly work. So 1 second.
Can you hear me?
Can you try again?
Hello?
No. Give us a second.
No?
I will try to fix it somehow. Interesting. Can you try now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Not yet. Soon enough. Now?
Hello?
Yes. Fantastic.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for inviting me. Your presentation, Babis, thank you very much for your presentation. I couldn't hope for a better one. I don't know if I ever had a better one in the past, but it was very nice. Thank you. So, congratulations on the project you are running since 2022. It's very interesting. And to my opinion, it's very important, especially where this era is taking us. Let me explain. So, as my experiences with data protection and intellectual property, but basically data protection, and so data protection, as you well know, has some principles, which is the principle of legality and so on and so forth. But some basic principles is the principle of minimization and the purpose limitation. An integral part on implementing those principles is privacy by design and by default. It's a very important principle that a seventh principle, if I might say, which very few, it's not very often used, unfortunately, especially now where we have so many AI models produced. And, the principle of privacy by design can reassure that concepts like data minimization will be used at the beginning of a technology that's being deployed. Why am I focusing on that? Because now we are in the era where, data is replicating with huge speed. In the future, the question is, where are we going to store all this information? So projects like Glaciation helps because it helps instill a message, which is data hygiene, use privacy, and in order to reassure that data are being used, the data that are needed for specific purposes. Workflow allocation decisions can be tied to declared purposes. And of course, we are in the era where all the geopolitical changes create a huge need for security, for cybersecurity. And I think, in my opinion, those concepts like the security, the data minimization, the data hygiene, and the purpose limitation gives a huge value, creates a huge value that if we implement them from an architecture stage. Now, one other concept that is very important is data transfers. We are living again in the era where data are moving very fastly in immense amounts. And there is a streamline of data that are transferred across countries. It's very important to be able to reassure from the commencement of a project that the principles I mentioned earlier are instilled, because that can help if you had the chance to check the to read the Schrems 1, the Schrems 2 case. It shows how important is to safeguard that those data and their transfer is adhering those principles. Yesterday, I had a discussion about the new discussion that started in the European Parliament and the trilogue in general about the chat controlled regulation. If you're not aware, it's a regulation about child abuse, which contains an article that says, okay, we need to surveil all the chats from the over-the-top platforms like WhatsApp, Signal, Viber. If we have the culture that this glaciation project instills of enforcing privacy by design and having some important principles from the beginning, when we structure technologies that will surveil users' chats, which let's say from the beginning I'm against. But if we have the culture of being able to enforce privacy by design on systems like that, we can hope that even if systems that are very intrusive like that will be used or decided by the regulators, that the systems that they will be used will be limited to the target that they had, which is criminals and abusers and so on and so forth. So to wrap this up, in my understanding, projects like this can ensure that we will be able to use to enforce the crucial principles of crucial data protection principles, which include data minimization in general, this data hygiene, which is imperative for the next decade, especially because of the multitudes and the multitudes of information that is replicated with immense speed. So I think it has a huge value, and this is my opinion. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for this project.
Thank you very much, Sergio. And please feel free to continue participating in the call and raise any questions you find appropriate. I will try now to rearrange teams, which is harder than developing any kind of platform or a system under a European project. So probably, I don't know, I will try to stop spotlighting stereos, yes, and continue spotlighting us. Great. Hopefully, no, do not see it. But in any case, we will proceed with the presentation. So I think that we will be okay. I return the microphones to the room. So now we will proceed with our next item in our agenda, the Glaciation Project Overview and Achievements, the innovation in edge to cloud computing for a greener digital future. I have again the honor to present our very next speaker, technical coordinator of our fantastic glaciation project, Dr. Aidan O'Mahony, principal research scientist at Dell Technologies and technical coordinator, as said, of the glaciation project. He leads research at Dell in areas like data management, security, storage, hardware acceleration, and he has also coordinated and directed too many projects over his career on data reduction, operation system development, hardware offload across a range of Dell products, contributing to the company's cutting-edge innovation in infrastructure technologies. Thus, I would like to call you stage and start also sharing your presentation and see if it works. Before that, I will try also to share the screen. Now is it working? I think it is. So thank you and welcome.
So good morning. So just checking this. So yeah, my name is Aidan O'Mahony. I think everyone here is probably well familiar with my voice at this stage over the last 3 years. And it's my great privilege and pleasure to present this morning on the final event of the project that we've worked on for 3 years. So I was fortunate to work on creation from when it was a blank page. So literally, when there was no content whatsoever, I was fortunate to start working on it to come up with the concept and put together the consortium that I've the pleasure of working with for the last 3 years. So, it's certainly remarkable that we've been able to work together for the last couple of years, and it's my great pleasure then to present this morning on our overview and achievements. So this presentation is designed to give an overview for anyone who's not familiar with the project, and also to highlight the achievements that we have made during our work for the last couple of years. So GLACIATION, it is an acronym. It stands for Green, Responsible, Privacy Preserving Data Operations. That is our goal, is energy and privacy. So this is when I talk to people and I explain projects, I'm always keen to highlight the 2 dimensions that we focus on, and that is energy and privacy. So these are the most important aspects of projects, is to enhance or to harmonize, as the word we've adopted over the last couple of years, harmonize the challenges between energy and privacy. So these are the 2 main dimensions of projects. We were funded under the Data 0101 call in 2021. So again, this is another aspect that I try to emphasize to everyone. This is very much a data project. So we're very concerned with data, and we're very concerned with the energy and privacy of that data. So we've 15 consortium members plus 1 associated partner, that being ETH in Zurich. We were fortunate to receive approximately €8.5 million worth of funding, and we started back in 2022. So if you're there tomorrow at the GA, I actually have a nice presentation on the entire history and everything we went through over the last couple of years, but I won't go through this morning. But 3 years, in some ways it goes by quickly, in other ways it's this is actually quite a substantial body of time. So why we were interested in this research, I suppose for Dell, we're interested in the massive amount of data that is produced at the edge. So, there's a lot of data created, and we want to be able to ensure that privacy and the ownership of that data can can be maintained for the citizens and customers of glaciation. Businesses, of course, gather, produce massive amounts of data at the edge. Storage, transfer, analysis, etc. These are massive concerns. So what you want is to be able to get benefit from the data, but also to reduce the cost of analyzing and getting that benefit. So for businesses, there's a significant cost when it comes to the production of data, the storage of data, etc. And then for public administrations, and I think Leonardo might have touched on this earlier, the costs of storing citizens' data, the costs of analysing it, using it, getting benefit from it, is significant. And when we look at it in glaciation from the environmental perspective, there's actually a significant impact as well that we want to address as part of our research. So in terms of the short and long-term vision, what we wanted to do was to enable a data-centric architecture, and ideally the goal was to develop this architecture in an energy efficient fashion such that the data, the intelligence, these insights can be created, but at energy efficient fashion. So that was the essentially the short and long-term vision of the project. At the time, this is before the world of ChatGPT when we wrote the proposal, but we had a significant focus on the use of artificial intelligence. And so we were keen and we were interested in learning how to use artificial intelligence to reduce the energy consumption of our data, as well as improving the analysis of the data that we're consuming. So the goal of the project, which is down here in the green box, is really to improve the efficiency and the use of digital technologies for citizens, for companies, for public administrations, for everyone essentially in terms of energy and in terms of privacy. So that was the short and long-term vision of the project. So I suppose not everyone is completely familiar with the move to edge computing. I know in Dell it's a big focus for us, is the use of edge devices, and the concept is that when the data is created, it's most efficient to process that data close to where it's created. So that is the motivation behind our project and the use of edge computing, and the benefits that we see in edge computing in terms of reliability, in terms of latency, in terms of security. There is significant benefits, and I think this is pretty much recognized in research that using edge devices to process data is both beneficial in terms of privacy and in terms of energy. But the use of edge computing then has its own challenges. So some of the challenges we've identified here, the use of legacy storage. These are the traditional methods of storing and processing data. There's limited intelligence, limited storage at the edge, and the core concept behind glaciation then in terms of the data movement and the treatment of data can be high cost. So these were some of the issues that we identified with using edge computing, and some of the issues that we wanted to research as part of our projects. So we have 4 use cases. We're fortunate to have what I would consider interesting use cases, actually. So MEF, I think the public administration use case, ourselves here at Dell. We have a significant manufacturing site in Cork, and we have manufacturing use case. SAP, privacy research, and IPSO, the one of the TSOs in Greece, the power grid. So, as I mentioned at the start, we have these what I would consider dimensions or interests in the project. So privacy, energy, and distributed computing. So we want to do as much as possible at the edge while maintaining privacy, while optimizing for energy. So the 4 use cases are complementary in terms of their interest of privacy, energy, and distributed computing, but each use case then has its own strengths in terms of these dimensions. So, for example, the SAP and the MEF use case is very concerned with privacy. IPSO and Dell is quite interested in the energy optimization, and I think MEF, and I think all of the use cases are quite interested in the edge processing and distributed nature of data. So there are 4 strong complementary use cases that really serves the project quite well. So when we dig into it a little more, as I mentioned at the start, this is a data project. So we spent a lot of our time researching data. And to enable the use of data, we created a metadata fabric. So this metadata, for anyone who's unfamiliar with it, I suppose you're aware of the concept of big data, and even if you think about your own data, your name, your address, your date of birth, etc. Metadata is data about data, and in some ways, metadata is almost as useful as data itself. So to enable the use of data, understanding that data and using the metadata was a significant part of the project. So the creation of this metadata fabric took a significant chunk, I think, of the project, and was one of the core efforts that we undertook over the 3 years. So we also introduced novel mechanisms using AI for both workloads and data. We developed a open vendor-neutral architecture for the project. We created quite a number of microservices that are used for both energy and privacy. And we also developed new and novel privacy preservation models. So we did a significant amount of work in our 3 years. I actually go into a lot more detail tomorrow. So if you're here tomorrow, you can look forward to that. I don't want to get into too much detail here, but we did, and I think everyone here who's worked in the project is familiar with the use of distributed knowledge graphs, and we spent a lot of time researching how to use distributed knowledge graphs, how to improve the efficiency of the distributed knowledge graphs. We also developed a mechanism for measuring the power of data, both workloads and data movement. We created a data movement engine, which we have been using, and I have some results here as well on the use of the data movement engine. And we also had our 4 use cases where we demonstrated and tested the research that we carried out over the 3 years. So I think everyone is familiar with this graph or this diagram or this figure, and it's really to illustrate what we set out to do 3 years ago, was to create this platform. The platform was built up of services that enable the use of data. And those services include storage, includes processing, making decisions, both for power, for energy, for privacy. I think if you've attended the events that we've put on, you're familiar with this concept of harmonizing. And it is a challenge to harmonize, to balance energy and privacy. So in order to, I suppose, satisfy the objectives that we set out to do, we built this platform, and we built it using various services, microservices, storage, etc. So, as I mentioned, now this is a pretty technical slide, but again, it's useful to remind us that the amount of work we put in over the 3 years and how much effort we put in creating the architecture platform. Every block here, somebody worked on this and put in effort, and there was a reason that we put in this effort, and it was you know, everything in here was useful, and we're currently testing using each bit of this architecture. So it's quite in depth. I won't go into each step of it right now. I think if you're here tomorrow, you'll get to enjoy my voice again, and we can dig into the architecture as well tomorrow. But it's quite technical, it's quite in depth, and everything in here is used to satisfy both the energy requirements of data and the privacy. So again, I put it up here just to remind us the efforts that we put in and the work that we put in over the 3 years. And then even we dig in deeper, and I kind of zoomed in the AI decision engine because there was a lot of work put into this as well, and the use of the swarm intelligence, the metadata service. You know, I think anyone who was involved in Work Package 6 and who went to, I think there was meetings every 2 weeks, you're quite familiar with the work and the efforts that we put into each block inside this architecture diagram. And just in terms of results, and I think this is a very important slide, and I'll go into a lot more detail tomorrow. We do, so the core results come from both measurements and simulations. And this is where we get our results from, is both measurements and simulations. When we simulate for cloud environments using glaciation, we can see a 30% energy savings. Each use case that concentrated on energy demonstrated benefit in using platform. So this could be for use case 1, there's demonstrated measurable daily energy savings for real workloads. For use case 2, and this is something I'm going to concentrate a lot on tomorrow. I might highlight it tremendously today, but the core finding that we see in use case 2 is on scale. So when you do large scale simulation, so even a small scale, we see benefits in terms of improved efficiency. But when you scale up the platform to large scale, and I know the team working on the swarm intelligence will agree with me on this, that the use of the platform really is beneficial at scale. And this is the core message that I have. And I'll talk a lot about it tomorrow, but we see significant benefit at scale, 25% lower consumption at data intensive workloads at scale. So this is the core message that we've seen in use case 2. Use case 4, their simulations showed 20% lower CO2 emissions. So each of the use cases that's concerned with the energy has demonstrated benefit in use of the platform, which I think is the main research results that we can demonstrate, and it's main results that we can demonstrate to the Commission at our final review. And that was the energy, and then on the privacy, the other dimension, each of the use cases has demonstrated benefit in terms of privacy. So, for example, use case 1, the public sector use case, they've used policy rules to ensure that the workloads are running on compliance devices. For us in use case 2, we have 100% compliance in terms of our PII. Use case 3, which is really concerned with privacy, it's a little difficult to read on the slide here. They've demonstrated stronger privacy protection, tested across different levels. So the core message is, in terms of energy and privacy, the 2 dimensions that we set out to target, we have demonstrated significant results, and I'm pleased to report the results at this point. So they're the highlights. I would say the highlights, the benefit in terms of energy, the benefit in terms of privacy. But when you zoom in and look more at the technical work, you'll see we actually did a significant and tremendous amount of work in terms of the foundation of the glaciation platform, the data and metadata work that we put in our effort into the glaciation metadata reference model, for example, the use of AI, machine learning. You know, this is, I think, a tremendous body of work that we've done over our 3 years, and it's, you know, it's significant that we've been able to do it and been able to open source so much of it as well. You can go to the glaciation GitHub and you can download the entire platform. And as we're working together on the deliverable related to the platform itself, you know, we actually provide that platform. We provide a guide. It's, you know, just a tremendous outcome, I think, the amount of work we've done, the results that we've demonstrated, the research that we did. I think we should be very, very proud. And the key outcomes, and I think I'm getting close to the end. So I think every use case has demonstrated benefit in terms of energy, but if we scale up the platform, we scale up the benefits. So that is one of the main findings from our research is, and I go into it tomorrow, actually, it's not unusual, the scale of the platforms that are in existence, you know, like I said, I'll go into tomorrow in more detail, but it's pretty common actually that the platform we're using is actually deployed at scale. So the benefits that we would expect to see at scale are actually deployments that are pretty common. So that is also interesting. In a large cluster, we would expect to see the equivalent of 30 homes per month savings in energy. So, you know, I try to kind of translate this into a nice metric And that's what it comes out at, 30 homes per month in terms of energy saving. That's what our platform can deliver. And we also support the decentralization of our data. So this is useful and key in order to support the use cases that want to consume that data as it's generated. And our simulations demonstrate we would expect to see a 60 kilowatt hour reduction in network traffic per month. So these are the key outcomes from our 3 years of work, as well as the research that we did into the use of AI, you know, the use of knowledge graphs, the monitoring, the energy, etc. I think we can be pleased with the work we've done, and we should be proud that we can support and provide these blueprints for greener data centers. And for anyone who's seen the links that I've sent over the couple of years, like you've seen the impact of data centers in Ireland, it's tremendous. Like we're struggling. I can't remember, was it 30% of the Irish state's energy is going towards data centers. So we can provide these blueprints for greener data centers as part of our research. And we can demonstrate lower operational footprint in terms of energy and CO2, and also demonstrate improved trust in the data sharing of that data. So let's wrap up. This is us. We all remember the 16 partners that we've been fortunate to work with over the last 3 years, and certainly been my honor and privilege to do so. And I'll pause at this point if there's questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for the presentation. A great thank you to Aidan. Actually, he's like on an individual level, our fifth use case. Everything is running in his head. He's obviously the technical coordinator, but he has an extreme understanding of the project and of the different points and added values of it. Thank you for all this, for this overview. It is being recorded. We will make sure to properly communicate and disseminate it. I believe it is part of the overall glaciation legacy. Now, we would like, and I think we also, the agenda likes, to proceed to our next slot and to our next speaker. We're going to, from research to practice, lessons from glaciation, and to the professor Stefano Parabosi, professor at the School of Engineering at the University of Bergamo. He teaches courses on databases, advanced data management, and computer security. Has been a distinguished career, has built a distinguished career in information systems, database technology, and information security. He's also the president of the Italian Association of Computer Engineering Professors. He has a huge publication record, and now within the Glaciation Project, he's ensuring that the cutting-edge research in secure and privacy-aware data management is, and will effectively be translated into solutions for the project real-life cases for the project for the project pilots. I would like to call him on stage, and I will start also presenting his slides, and then I will give you the whole thing.
Thank you, Babis.
Hopefully it works. I would like to also give you the pointer to support you if it's still working.
Oh, okay, it's working. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm coming after Aidan, who made an excellent presentation. So where he already described some of the topics I'm also going to cover. So in general, our target is similar. We want to describe what are the outcomes of the glaciation project. I'm presenting them more from the point of view of the researcher, let's say classical researcher who works in academia. So it's more, let's say, looks at typically with attention at what is presented in papers, and also as an engineer, also interested in the concrete impact of our work, and as Aidan emphasized clearly, the concrete benefit that we can get in power consumption, in energy consumption, is actually one concrete result that is, I guess, quite impactful for people outside the community. Anyway, let me, probably it's okay, the other direction. Okay, so here, so what is the problem being solved, as already illustrated? So in general, we start in glaciation from the consideration that we have on one side the consideration of the increasing consumption of energy that is associated with IT in general. So we know this is actually in the news. I guess last week, there was this announcement about an agreement between OpenAI and Oracle, where that increased by 30% the stock valuation of Oracle, and so Verizon become a richest man on earth. And due to the important data that was presented was the power required for the data center that Oracle was expected to build. And so we are talking about I think 50 to 100 gigawatts of power powering the data centers built for OpenAI. So certainly, so this is an important aspect of the power energy consumption associated with it. And so we have, as people working in this domain, we certainly have to pay attention to this aspect. So it's certainly going to become a new element in the consideration. So here, so glaciation, so looks at this problem and integrates with, let's say, classical problems that we already considered, like as we know, in general, the consideration of the security and privacy requirements that are certainly a classical theme that the research community has worked on. And in order to build an integration, a solution that combines these different aspects, as really then illustrated, several components have been developed and a lot of work has been done in several directions. Here, essentially, is another representation of what are the main components that are part of the glaciation platform, the approach used by glaciation. So we have a metadata fabric, so we have tools that support the representation of what is the profile about security, consumption, profile of computation, all integrated in a model for representation of the data and tools that allow to retrieve this information. We have the use of AI. AI on one side is certainly one of the important drivers to the increased consumption of energy associated with IT. We know the typically GPUs, even in a small computer, are typically those the components that are responsible for the greatest consumption. And in general, we know also in most of the growth in energy consumption is associated with the growth that we expect to observe in AI. But here also AI can be used to optimize the configuration of the system. And actually, glaciation will show how AI can be, in a way, an element that it deteriorates, in general, increases the impact, but also offers opportunities to improve the solution. Then different levels of control, integration of data coming from sensors. This is, as I will also emphasize, an important aspect where I think the work we did in glaciation made clear that there is additional work that has to be done in order to collect to improve the tools that allow us to provide estimates and provide measurements about the level of energy consumption. Then there is, in general, this orchestration. So, in general, the scenario, so as I look at it from the point of view of the researchers, that we typically, as researchers working in computer science, in IT, we were mostly focused for most of our career on performance. So we wanted to build algorithms that were more efficient meaning able to find a solution in a smallest amount of time. So that using providing a good response without worrying so much to the level of energy consumed for getting a solution. So in general, so there was obviously in the past 20 years some attention about the level of energy consumption of devices, but this was typically associated with the need to control, since circuits become so integrated, so it was important not to overheat a CPU, overheat a chip, and so that was mostly the attention of the motivation to look at energy. Now, obviously, there is the scenario has changed, and also, obviously, we know that in addition to the concern about in general energy consumption, we also have to consider the green aspect of the fact that a lot of energy production is associated with the generation of CO2, which is polluting the environment. And so we also, so in general, we don't have just to look at what is the amount of energy that we consume for the execution of a given computation, but if we want it to be, say, more precise, and more aware about what is the impact of the work that we do, obviously we also have to consider what is the amount of CO2 that is produced by the execution of given workloads. So this is let's say the overall view. In general, in GLACIATION, we already made, so we have different levels at which we can analyze the energy use associated with computations. So we can look at what is the profile of a single computer. We can look at the profile of a data center. In general, important dimension that started to be considered also in GLACIATION is the consideration of the fact that we may have different data centers that are associated with different profile in terms of energy cost and energy and the impact in terms of CO2 of energy production. And so we may consider also the distribution across different data sets. So this is certainly something which is novel and where we need made some progress. Then at the technical level, I also observed that we, from the start of the project, it was not really described in the proposal, but since the first technical meetings that we had, we identified an important role to Kubernetes. This is since the probably today, the most important opportunity to get a benefit from an intelligent configuration of the computation operates at the level of the data centers. In this scenario, Kubernetes is certainly the leading tool, the one that orchestrates the execution of large workloads. And since also Kubernetes is open source, is this played the central role. A lot of the work that we did actually fits and designs fits within Kubernetes and design components that improve the evaluation consideration of these security and energy consumption aspects within this system. So this was probably from a technical point of view, it was a good thing to have such a tool available, and for this tool to be open source, and that really facilitated the development of solutions that could be adapted in real systems. So about now what about the methodology and the structure of glaciation? This is just the organization of work packages that we have. So we have 8 work packages, which is let's say regular number for a project of the size of glaciation. And here we have a different view of the architecture that Aidan already presented, where essentially the message, similar to what Aidan said, is that indeed the work that was done in glaciation was quite extensive, considered these many aspects, and these aspects were carefully integrated. In my experience, compared to many other larger projects, I've observed in glaciation really a level of integration between the work done by the different partners, which was a lot stronger in terms of integration compared to what I typically see. Consider also that this was an extremely difficult challenge to put together all of these different aspects. But in the end, we achieved this important goal. So really, the amount of work, the number of topics that were investigated is really extensive. And here is that this is the rest was actually also presented by Aidan, and really we have a lot of components, a lot of work was done also on the metadata fabric and distributed knowledge graph, so which is also an additional service that supports the realization of a work. Now I prepare just a brief description of just some of the research topics that were investigated in the project, just to give an idea, a high-level view about what we worked on and what are the topics that we are investigated. So as already Aidan also remarked, so we had these approaches that use AI to improve, identify configurations for the execution of the workload that were able to provide better efficiency or measure in terms of energy consumption. So again, prediction using AI. Actually, glaciation started in October 22, so before ChatGPT was released. ChatGPT was released on 30 November 2022. So 2 months after the start of the session, really we know the impact that it had in general across the world. So actually we in a way adapted to this evolution. So AI was not as important in the glaciation proposal as in the end turned out to be the work that we did, because we adapted to the important role that AI is assumed. Also, obviously, AI has further increased the importance of glaciation because, as I already said, now, in general, the amount of energy that is associated with those computations is going to increase. Probably, if you're going to adapt in a way, write a new glaciation proposal with wisdom of after having done the work, probably we should emphasize how this has become more important. And certainly, a new description of the glaciation scenario has to take into account that those workloads are particularly significant. Anyway, so here, as I said, we use AI to consider the configuration, explore what can be a good configuration of the system. We also, in research, was also dedicated to the application of, for instance, swarm intelligence-based methods. So the ANT model of one where we typically, this is a kind of heuristics which is appropriate when you have to explore a multidimensional domain where you have so many parameters, so many options, so many combinations that could be part of the solution of your problem. So you want to identify in a relatively efficient way a good solution. So this model was applied to the identification of a good configuration for data distribution. And so it proved to be a good approach in this scenario. Then, in general, there are also some more research-oriented work that consider how you could integrate a detailed security policy with the decision of how data processing is executed in a system. And in this case, a sophisticated model was designed to describe really what are the privileges, the access control, which is the access control policy for the execution of data processing activities by different actors. And I was involved directly in this line of research. And my summary of, let's say, this this investigation is that it's an approach that can be extremely powerful, so can really allow to give you fine level granularity in the description access privileges, and so can adapt to also scenarios where you have a very rich policy that describes a variety of protection requirements, but also this work also showed how you really the complexity of the problem increases very quickly. So it requires a significant effort in this case. In this case, the model that was used to describe the data processing computation was the one associated with processing of relational data. So essentially, a relational algebra was the formal model. And even in this scenario, relational algebra is characterized as being a relatively simple model, so quite direct. No, so probably one of the simplest that you can use to describe how you can process data. Still, also in this simple model, immediately you can build scenarios where the complexity is extremely high. Still, the results that were produced, I think, were interesting and were improving the state of the art. Then for data protection, we did some technical work. For instance, we have also, I was involved directly in this line of investigation. So where we have an approach that was investigated that bases protection on using a kind of encryption where you make a interconnection between different encrypted representations of your data. So you essentially using a transformation uses encryption, and then you split what you get from this transformation into different pieces, and then the idea is that you need exactly all of the pieces. Not even one can be missing in order to reconstruct what was the original content. This can have several applications in a different scenario. And actually, we did some research where we showed in GLACIATION how this technique can be used in distributed systems to improve protection. And that also becomes an option that we think, in terms of research, represents an advancement that can provide opportunities to improve the protection requirements. Then we also worked on sanitization, so on large-scale anonymization of large data collections. This work was particularly integrated with GLACIATION because it was designed, this work, to operate within Kubernetes, uses high-level parallelism, and the work that was done shows how you can use a specific set of approaches for sanitization, so to anonymize large data collections that turns out to be quite scalable. So you can work really on huge data volumes and get an adequate protection of, or at least adequate satisfying a protection satisfies the anonymization goals that we have. So this was another work, and also there was a rich amount of significant amount of work that was done toward also the consideration of evolutions of differential privacy. So here we have
just as a presentation of different, one of the approaches that was investigated. In general, the recent line of research is one where there is, again, as a sort of outcome of the impact of AI machine learning in the IT domain, there is a recent line of research that looks at how differential privacy can be integrated with machine learning, with interesting results that I think are really one of the concrete research side contributions that come from the work we did in GLACIATIon. But also, in general, people working in GLACIATIon can see that I'm following the structured work packages. So I'm going now to work package, next work package 5, with one dedicated to energy evaluation. So a power measurement framework was also developed using a set of tools, typically open source, that are available and were put to use. So they were integrated within GLACIATIon. So really operating measurements at different levels, a single server, rack at the level of a pod. And this was certainly a work in a very hot and quickly evolving area, because really in this area, we didn't have interesting tools until probably at the start of GLACIATIon. The technological landscape was providing really very basic tools. In the 3 years of the GLACIATIon duration, we had certainly some significant improvement in this area, and that also is my view is that this is an area where additional improvements are going to occur, thanks also to the work we did in GLACIATIon. There was all this work done on the realization of an effective distributed knowledge graph. So here specifically the research work was done dedicated to this graph database interface. So an approach where in a proposal was made about the certain integration between the interfaces and the features available at the hardware level, considering the architecture model data centers and what was needed to operate over graph data. Then also this is not currently part, is not used in a use case, but certainly in terms of research is an interesting research direction that was investigated in GLACIATIon. They potential use of DNA, synthetic DNA for data storage. So we know that we have machines that are able not only to read from the DNA, what is the sequence, and what is the sequence of elements and what is our genome, but also we can build a specific sequence of DNA. So the idea is to use this kind of technology as a storage device. Obviously, there is the potential to have high information density. We know that actually DNA is one of the most efficient storage devices in terms of density of information. And also you can have a high level of reliability because you have PCR, for instance, is able to replicate quite effectively the amount of DNA that you have. So you have some advantages. Actually, biology proves to be the fruit of a billion years evolution. So it's in many cases teaches us how you can do some things. And so there is also this line research which can have a more long-term potential. Then for the distributed knowledge graph, a lot of work has been done in this case with direct research impact, but also with a concrete use within the GLACIATIon platform. So the distributed knowledge graph relies on the availability of a number of tools that have been built in GLACIATIon, fully integrated within the GLACIATIon platform. So this certainly is a significant contribution, and in order to support then the representation of the data, also work was done on the definition of a metadata reference model that uses that then is used to organize the representation and storage of configuration information within the glaciation platform. And here we have a really just a basic representation of what is the kind of reference model that was used. So what is the basic ontology. And here we see an example of the queries that have been used. So here Sparkle is obviously the kind of query language that is typically used to access this kind of representation of information. And Sparkle was actually an important tool in this component. This is also, it's not probably Sparkle used to be a mainly research topic. Today we find several applications. So in this case, we are moving really in the area between what is classical research and what are the industrial uses of the solutions. And also a semantic model has been built for the description of the configuration of what is the current status of worker node that can be continuously queried, can be continuously updated, and this in itself is an important challenge that was considered. Then we have, this is an example of the API that was presented to support the prediction service, so the one that allows to identify what is the kind of configuration that can provide a more efficient configuration. And in general, also within the project, we also applied all the modern methodologies that are followed, should be followed in the construction of modern large-scale systems. So with the use of classical steps in the realization of the software, so unit tests, integration tests, continuous integration, continuous development, terms that are quite familiar to everyone who now today builds large scale software. So we wanted to be aligned, and actually it was crucial to be aligned with the modern ways to do software, as it was also Argo CD is not cited here, but had an important role as a tool to support the realization of platform, and also here Git and GitHub was also extensively used to coordinate the work of the different partners in the realization of the system. Okay, so overall evaluation, just as again as a researcher, I have a point of view about what is the contribution of glaciation. In general, obviously, as academicians, big researchers working at universities, we typically consider as a robust demonstration of research, typically the papers that have been published, accepted and published in major conferences and journals. And on this metric, we actually have very good results for glaciation. We published a significant number of papers in top journals and top conferences. There is also one paper by ETH that I just checked as 1,200 citations, and it was published in 2024. And that's a really impressive result. So it's not just an outcome of the GLACIATION project. GLACIATION is one of the projects contributing to this work, but really we had, in terms of concrete metrics about how many papers we published and in which venues, certainly, I guess, my view really is that we are a very good project, solid project with concrete results. And not only this, obviously, this is, I think, an important metric for a research and industrial application, the RIA project, but also what I really noticed is that the research topics are aligned with not only the interest of research community, otherwise you are not able to publish papers in top journals and conferences, but also obviously take directly into account of what were the requirements of the GLACIATION project. So there is, I think, compared to several types of research that are made, I think a potential impact on the construction of modern systems, which is quite hard. And in general, all this work, I think, demonstrates that there is, in general, a great potential in the integration between these different aspects. So computational aspect, what is the profile of the computational job of what we have to do, what is the goal of our execution of our system, together with the security and privacy requirements and the energy profile. So these three elements together really are difficult to put together. In a way, this is also what glaciation shows, that it's not easy to put together all of these aspects, and in some cases, you have to make some simplification. So a full direct complete integration between these aspects is still quite hard to do, and we were lucky that we were able to find an approach that allows us to put together these aspects, and certainly there is a significant amount of work that remains to be done. So in general, so what I repeat here, that an integration of all the elements is extremely ambitious, because we have a great increase in complexity. We know that there is this idea first of dimensionality. So when you put together many dimensions, now the complexity of the problem increases typically in an exponential way. So increases beyond what are the resources that you have available to consider completely, fully all the different aspects. And so this is, I think that actually, compared to my expectations, the results that we produced in terms of direct impact to let's say, use cases are greater than what I originally expected, because I think we did good work, thanks certainly also to the excellent coordination that we received. And but still, obviously, there are advancements that are there to be explored, because there is actually a full integration, I think, still beyond what we can do with the current tools. Certainly, we can do better, we can improve in time, but it remains a really difficult problem. And also what I got from the work that was done in the session as a researcher working in this area is that there is certainly also a power management and power management tools are still in the early stage. They have significantly improved, but still it's really hard to get a direct evaluation, a direct estimation about what is the energy cost associated with a specific computation. Computer systems are already quite complex at the hardware level. Then you have to consider what is the software structure, which is also quite complex. So really building a good measurement for the specific contribution of some workloads is harder, probably in a way, when we consider the AI domain, where we consider the kind of computations that are associated with execution, for instance, of a prompt response. In that case, since it is so significant, the amount of energy that is associated in a way that the scenario simplifies the measurement, but for let's say classical computational workloads like those that we have in some of the use cases, this measurement is still quite hard. So I think we have additional improvements are required, not just by us, but in general, overall in the IT community, additional work should be had. On the other hand, I see as a researcher several positive outcomes. So for obviously that we did the work and produced the results in several areas that are integrated, that follow starting a single principle, the one that was specified at the start. In general, for the delicate integration between security and optimization, in a way, we were lucky that already the internal structure of the Kubernetes scheduler already separates these phases. So it has a security phase that precedes the evaluation of the identification of what is the planning phase, the one that identifies which is the correct structure that we have to use for the execution of a given workload. And so this really was crucial in allowing us to have a smooth integration between the realization of the security policy part and the work that was done on the improvement of the planning phase and optimization phase. So this, again, I repeat that there is this nice integration between all the components, and actually another, as already done, clarified, it's also, I guess I see as an important result that all the most of the work that was done on research side was then also demonstrated within concrete use cases. So we have 4 use cases with a different profile. Some of them cover some dimensions, some cover others. Overall, all the dimensions of the problem of the scenario are considered in the use cases, and also this represents, I think, a concrete result that I think represents the demonstration that the project achieved the goals that it put created at the start. I think that's all. Okay. Thank you.
Dear online participants, we are back. We hope that you have enjoyed a brief coffee, and now you will have the opportunity to enjoy the rest of the glaciation final event and the presentations by our dear use cases. We are proceeding with the next slot, which is called Use Case Story Session from Idea to Reality. I will try to be the moderator, and I will call to the stage and to the microphone and to the screen the different use case leaders, representatives, so that they can provide us with a presentation of their use cases, their achievements, and what we have achieved per case so far. I will share my presentation, not my presentation actually, the presentation from MEF, and I will call to our dears, to our stage the representatives from the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance and from SOGEI. We have Alessio Cellini, the senior data expert and officer of the Italian Ministry, and Enrico Ciacciari, yeah, Hajimalis, Ciacciari, I mean, different interpretations of CH, it's difficult to do. The head of Enterprise Services Solutions at SOGEI, Italy's leading ICT provider for the Ministry of Economy and Finance, with more than 15 years of experience in cloud transformation, enterprise platforms, and large-scale IT program management. We are calling, in a way, the coordinators and the main use case representatives here to provide us with a presentation of use case 1. So please do join us, join me actually, the stage. There you are. Okay, thank you. Let's see if it works. Does. Okay. So next one, next slide. Done? Yes? No? Okay, perfect. Yes. 10 years of experience and problem with managing this device, but okay. Okay, thank you everybody for being here. We are talking about the first use case of the our project, GLACIATION Project. My name is Alessio Cellini, as told by Babis, and I am here on behalf of the Ministry of Economy and Finance. I'm part of the Office of Innovation and in the Directorate of System Information and Innovation. And we are an office with different skill. We are a directorate with different skill and competencies. And okay, usually just one person here, but there are a lot of people working here and also at home, because we are multi-layer organization with different competencies. Okay, I said we have the innovation
office. Among other tasks, we follow the innovation initiative of the ministry, and then we are also collaborated with other office, the data unit, for example, in this project, and also other unit in our directorate. For this use case, we cooperate fruitfully with SOGEI for the definition, for the ideation, the implementation of our use case. Some business detail, some problem with the. Okay, probably I can switch with the arrow. No? Yes.
These are the real problems, right?
Okay, I'm not the problem. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, yes, okay. So, from idea to reality, on use case 1, we focus on the data management, and we focus on the edge decentralization on data management. I say our directorate manages the IT and data services for a lot of Italian public administration that use our platform. As a platform, we offer the service for the payroll management and performance management, among the other services. And we serve about 2 million civil servants that are quite a big part of the Italian civil servants, but in over 80 public entities. But we have plans for expansion. We are releasing an update of the system that will allow us to handle a lot more organization and administration. And our aim, our goal is to cover all the entire public sector audience. 3 million plus civil servants and a lot of hundreds of public entities, because we will also handle the local public bodies. We have a goal. We have the goal to increase the offer of services for our users, and we develop user-centric services. And this during the years lead us to centralize the handling of the essential data. So the main data and the center in one or more data center with data recovery and disaster recovery procedures and systems, but we have the data just in one place. So we want, with this project, to test the possibility to improve local data handling and moving the processing of some data outside using edge computing and other technologies. So we want to decentralize the data, but keep both to enhance performance, because having all the data in the same place requires a heavy workload, and but we have to do this keeping the security and privacy in mind, because we also manage sensitive data, and we have something, and so and we want to have this edge decentralized approach also because, for example, in the last months, we talk about, we heard also Commission talk about data sovereignty, and that is, of course, at a national level or continent level, but also we have in a smaller scale, administration, public bodies that want or have to, for law requirement, to keep their data in their storage in their data center. So we have to find a way to coordinate this data flow, data movements, keeping privacy and security in mind. So the expected outcomes, of course, are to optimize this data flow, ensuring privacy. And why glaciation? Okay, because we see in the first meeting, when the first idea of glaciation was developing, for years ago now, and that we can have something that we can validate the glaciation approach. So we can show that we can ensure security and compliance, even if the data are not processed all in the same place as today. And we can decentralize some services so we can have a better distribution of the resources. Why glaciation? Because in the glaciation proposal, we see these four goals, objectives that are the four of the idea that we propose to the Commission and the objective that we want to reach, and we are even listening to Aidan and Stefano, they say we have reached this objective. Okay, so the first one is to develop a flexible vendor network architecture. Okay, we use open policy agent Rigo, and so we integrate this to validate the use case one. Then objective 4, we want to create a mobile portable microservices. Okay, we have some privacy preserving microservices, so we can do collaborative computation. We integrate this with our use case one. Later, Enrico will talk about the architecture of our test environment. Then we have objective 5, where the development of privacy preservation models and technologies. And this is has been done, and we have tested here in the test bed for the privacy preservation models. And then we, objective number 9, we have to test and demonstrate the effectiveness and generality of the glaciation approach to edge or cloud computing. Okay, we listen Aidan, our technical leader, to explain how we have reached this result. And we, from the use case 1 point of view, have demonstrated that privacy preserving workload can be done and using the encryption and sanitization technique that Stefano explained to us before. Then, okay, I leave the floor to Enrico for some detail on the use case technologies.
Okay, thank you, Alessio. Okay, thank you, Alessio, and good morning to everyone. So, from a technical point of view, our use case is based mainly on cloud-native technology. So, in terms of the application, so the core workload that is what is behind the NoIPA application, we can consider mainly two services. From one side, the service that is responsible for taking the information relating to the employee, the time sample, and on the other side, the service that is responsible to process the data, to analyze, and to go ahead. So for what is relating the other, for example, the orchestration and synchronization, the infrastructure, the solution is based on Kafka that is able to provide the synchronization across all the services, the Helm chart that we use in order to create the application services, the Argo CD in order to provide CI/CD automation delivery. For what is relating the monitoring and observability, we leverage on technology like Prometheus and Grafana in order to collect all the metrics that we have to consider from one side, and on the other side to have a dashboard for what is important to us before what we have to consider. In terms of security, as explained for Aidan, also mentioned by Alessio, we have an important integration with one work package specific for glaciation, work package for which giving us the opportunity to enforce the security and compliance relating to the data after the processing. And in general, for what is relating the storage, the solution is based on the first two, the persistent volume and the object store. So, I don't know. All right. Okay, so how it works. So here we try to summarize the overall architecture. So we have the first pod, the first services that is responsible to take the timestamp for the employee to start the elaboration. This is responsible also to start the message to the Kafka in order to have the synchronization across the overall infrastructure. Following, we have other two services that are responsible to process the data. And see here we have two different process. On one side, the standard flow, and on the other side, we here manage the sensitive data. Here, as mentioned before, we have the integration with the work package related to security that, thanks to tag and specific configuration, giving us the opportunity to separate the elaboration to be sure that the elaboration is executed on specific node and the elaboration, the result is stored in a specific volume encrypted. That is what we see here, the result, depending on the type of processing, the result is stored in specific storage. So the normal flow is stored in a persistent volume, and the sensitive data are stored in the object store. Maybe it's not working anymore.
Ho finito adesso.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So in terms of impact, we have to consider several things. First of all, the privacy protection, because this is important, because we have this sensitive data that are processed and elaborated only on specific node, and the result is encrypted to the object store. The efficiency, because decentralized the computation from the center to the edge, we are saving, and this give us the opportunity to make the services faster. Stability, because proven, because the performance evaluation and the log checks demonstrated that glaciation maintain a consistent result, consistent performance, also under the same operation. And another important thing is the reliability of the overall process, because what we have seen is that all the process work properly as expected without any problem. So next, Alessio, please. So in terms of lesson learned for our use case, first of all, obviously is the cloud native application, because using modular Kubernetes deployment, this prove an effective for automation, monitoring, and resilience of the application and the infrastructure. Data security and compliance, because splitting the workload relating to sensitive data, this is in line for maybe one of the best, the most important problem that we have with working with public administration. The operational excellence, because leveraging with GitOps and Argo CD, this helping us to trace, to avoiding also problem during the team collaboration. And the last is the user and stakeholder value, because using the Swagger-based interface, this gives us the opportunity to work with the application also for non-user technical, and the automated workload, because the automated workload deployment ensure the continuity and stability for the application. So looking for the future for our use case, these are the main aspects we are going to do. So extending the platform and find other opportunities on the use case on the other public administration. So promoting the platform in order to optimize the energy consumption also in the public administration, and evolving the data center approach, switching from central computing to also the model based on edge core computing in order to simplify and to maintain more efficient the process in a simple way. So this is our last slide. So thank you.
Thank you both. I think that this duet has been the best presentation so far, changing the approaches. So thank you very, very much. Any questions for use case one? Thank you. No, not at all. Just a typical one. And then don't go, come back. Just to make it fun. So what is next would be my question. After the project, it is a tricky one, as we have worked together on the exploitation. I know that it is a tricky question, but how do you see, and you have already included some information, but how do you see these results being included inside NOIPA? What part can you roll out first? How do you envisage the future of what you have gained so far by glaciation? Because it could be scientifically and technologically, because as I said at the very beginning, it's not that we have just developed a series of components, it is that we have developed a series of different concrete knowledge packs. So how do you have any plans? How do you foresee that?
Just start and then you compare. Okay. Yes. Okay. We cooperate on this use case with SOGEI because SOGEI is the technical partner of our ministry, and they are responsible of data operation, all the operation of our system, and they are also present in the project that we are leading for renovation of our system. And the new system is based on microservices, so as a lot of opening to new technologies, and the test bed, the environment that SOGEI created for us for this project is compatible with the new system. So I think that you can confirm that we want to integrate this in the new system. That you can say how can we the plan on.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So the project explain how it's possible from technical point of view to integrate within glaciation in order to all the optimization that we have on the platform. On our point of view, so starting from this technical part, we need to also verify all the constraints that we have working with public administration when we work with sensitive data, with also the constraint that each administration has, because they can have different constraints and so on. So from technical point of view, we can start for this, try to evolve in our environment, because we as a SOGEI work with different, we are multi-cloud provider, multi-cloud user. So we have to now try to test this in order to shift on our cloud, and in order to integrate also with our system, our security, our best practice that we have in order to provide the service in a correct way for the public administration.
And as Adam told us, more data you use, you move, and better is the result. We start at the beginning with an incremental approach for the project. We start with a relatively small quantity of data, very specific, but we plan to extend this to all the payroll elaboration, to all the kind of data processing that we do at the moment centrally, but we want to, using this technology, spread all over our network.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I will thank you again for the presentation, for answering to the question, and then move to use case number 2. Before doing that, I think that it is extremely important to understand what types of use cases we have. I mean, this is probably why we have won the proposal, okay, also because the whole consortium is creme de la creme, but it is these use cases that gave us the opportunity to make this proposal a project, and it is exactly these use cases that are securing, which is extremely difficult, I mean, considering the type of use cases that we have, but they are securing the proper sustainability and exploitation of what has been achieved and what has been developed. It is not a simple project. At the end of the day, it is not just another Horizon project.